You ever notice how an abusive man doesn't even have to lie outright to mess with your head? He just needs a shred of truth, right? One tiny piece of something real, and suddenly the whole thing feels believable. You start doubting yourself, defending yourself, over-explaining, trying to just correct the parts that are just outright wrong. Because that one detail was true. You don't even need to believe him, actually, right? You just need to doubt yourself. And that's exactly why this tactic works. Abusers love shreds of truth. They build entire stories out of crumbs, and the rest of it just kind of slides in quietly like it belongs there. You don't even see it happening at first. And honestly, this one hits every single one of the women that I work with. This is one of the most confusing parts of psychological abuse because you never really truly feel grounded, right? You know something's off, but you kind of can't quite pin down where the manipulation starts. You're just left spinning. Now, I'm Lisa Sonni, an expert in toxic and abusive relationships, certified in abuse recovery, and I specialize in trauma bonds. I teach women exactly how abusive men twist the truth to keep you stuck and doubting yourself. Now, if you want to understand the psychology behind manipulation so you can break free from it for good, make sure that you subscribe because I post new videos every week. Okay, let's get into it. Shreds of truth show up in different ways, but the psychology is the same every damn time. The last way is so crazy making, so stick around because I'm going to explain it at the end. Now, he takes something real, right? Something harmless, even normal. He stretches it until you're the problem, until your memory feels unreliable, right? You're questioning your own character instead of questioning his behavior. That's the point. So let me go through some of the most common ones because once you see them, you can't unsee them. The first one is this. He uses your insecurity as evidence. Not necessarily evidence of anything that he's saying, but evidence of what he needs you to believe. So say, for example, you've always been like a little bit sensitive about whether or not people like you. That's not some deep flaw. That's human. Most women know exactly what that feels like, but he grabs that little truth, right? That tiny thing that maybe you've said out loud once, and suddenly he's using it in every argument. Your friend doesn't respond to a text fast enough. She's tired of you. Your sister seemed off at dinner. She never liked you. Your coworker didn't say goodbye. Honestly, people just find you too much, right? They make these little jabs, these little comments. Some of them can even sound supportive or, I'm just being honest. But none of this is actually real. Like maybe your sister had a headache. Maybe your coworker rushed out and didn't say bye because she had to pee. Could have been anything. But because you do sometimes worry about being liked, you take the bait. You let it in. You check yourself. You wonder if he's seeing something that you're not. And he counts on that. He banks on it. This is how isolation happens in abusive relationships. It's not usually with, don't see your friends. It's these tiny little comments that make you suspicious of everyone except him. Another big one is the past. Abusive men, they love using the past against you, especially if it's something that you've worked really hard to change. Not to get off topic, but his past is off limits, right? Am I right? Yeah, thought so. Anyway, say that you used to be bad with money in your 20s, right? You got your life together. You learned how to budget, to save, to plan. You grew up, right? Everybody does that. But he doesn't let you be grown anymore. He keeps you in that state. He's going to take the truth, the thing that used to be real, and he's going to act like it's still happening today. You misplace a receipt, you're terrible with money. You buy yourself something small, you're irresponsible. You're bankrupting yourself with Starbucks purchases, right? You want to save for a trip? Come on, you can't even manage what you have. All these comments, but they hit you because, you used to struggle, but you don't anymore. He knows that. That's exactly why he brings it up. If he can freeze you in your old life, you know what I mean? Just keep you there, keep you in that version of who you used to be, then he never has to face how much you've actually outgrown him. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of abusers can't stand their partner's growth. It threatens the whole power dynamic. They hate it. So what they do is drag you backward. They tell you that you're still who you used to be. Because even if you believe that you haven't changed, you'll keep accepting behavior that you should have walked away from years ago. This is a strategy. Now, another version of this sort of shred of truth tactic is classic half-truth accusations, right? These are the ones where something happened, but it's not the way he's claiming. You were out last night, true, but he's going to say you were at a club, but meanwhile, you were at a restaurant. Or you were there flirting with guys when you absolutely weren't. Or you were ignoring his messages on purpose. Or you were with the girls, but actually you just went out for a drink with coworkers. He attaches his own story to the truth, but the whole point of this is that he expects you to defend yourself. He probably doesn't even believe that you are doing the thing that he's accusing you of, but he does want to see if you defend yourself. To be fair, he might believe it, but I want you to consider he might not believe it. The point is often just to see if you'll defend yourself. And because you are so focused on clearing up all the parts of the story that he's making up that are false, you look defensive. And because you're defensive, he acts like he must be right? Ooh, look how defensive you're getting. Oh, you must be lying. If you were telling the truth, you wouldn't be so defensive. But of course, on the flip side, if you are not defending yourself, you're not defending yourself, so it must be true. I know, it's a double bind. We know that. Anyway, now he has this whole new truth, to use against you all the time. And all he needed was the fact that you left the house. The rest is fiction, but it's fiction that has been built on fact, and that's so much harder to push back on. And he knows it. Now, the next one is honestly one of the most emotionally destructive. That's the one I was referring to earlier, but it's because it hits your sense of self. It's when he grabs something that you did once and he turns it into like a personality trait, okay? You cried once, so now you always overreact. You shut down or froze in one argument, so now you never communicate. You forgot one thing at the grocery store, so you never listen, right? You got overwhelmed one day, so you play the victim. It's an endless list. It's a tiny truth, but it's buried inside this big lie. He's not describing you at all. He's describing the version of you that benefits him, the one that keeps you apologizing and fixing things that weren't even broken and believing that you need to do better, not him. Nothing binds a woman to an abusive man faster than believing she's the problem that he's putting up with. This whole tactic relies on you being self-aware. That's the part people miss. Abusive men don't pick women who think that they're perfect. They pick women who question themselves before they question him. That self-awareness, that desire to be self-reflective, they bank on that. And actually, here's another one that you'll definitely recognize. The distorted truths about who you are. You know you're insecure, right? You know that. You know you're emotional. You know you're sensitive. It's just the truth, right? Come on. You know you're a jealous person, right? Yeah, you're a human being. You have emotions. You have soft spots. You have reactions. None of this is weird, but he frames it like these things make you defective. Like your normal human experience is some kind of burden that he just has to deal with. They all make it seem like they're putting up with you and you're so lucky. But the truth is, maybe you do feel things deeply. Makes sense. Manipulation is making you believe that that feeling makes you unreliable or unstable, but that's not true. That way, anytime he hurts you, he can just be like, well, the problem is your sensitivity, not his behavior. It keeps your focus on yourself instead of the harm that he's causing. Now listen, abusive men rely on women being honest with them. They rely on you sharing your fears, your past, your insecurities, your shame, your struggles. They get you doing this in early stages of the relationship. They're vulnerable, so you share things too. But that's where all the shreds of truth come from. They don't have to do the work of learning who you are. You hand them the roadmap, and then they use it whenever it serves them. That's one of the hardest things that women struggle with, right? It's not just, he lied to me. He used your truth as the lie. And I swear that cuts deeper than any made-up story ever could. When you cling to the truth part, you end up holding the blame for the lie part. And that's why this is such a powerful trap, right? Like a mind F, if you will. You're trying to fix something that isn't yours, and he's counting on it. But let's talk about why this tactic works so well psychologically, because that matters. And knowing is actually going to help you let this go. Isn't that the goal, right? Your brain is wired to respond to things that are familiar. So when a confrontation contains something that's even like a small piece of something real, your brain unconsciously just grabs onto it. Familiar feels safe, even when it isn't. And worse, the more self-aware a woman is, the more this lands. If you know your insecurities and your flaws, your past mistakes, you're ahead of most people. But in an abusive relationship, that self-awareness is twisted into self-blame. You're walking into conversations with honesty. Makes sense. You value honesty. You're an honest person. He knows that. He loves that. He's walking in with a strategy. And so if you've ever wondered, am I crazy? Am I missing something? Did I actually do that? No, you're not crazy. You're being manipulated by someone who knows exactly how to use just enough truth to make you doubt everything else. This tactic also keeps you so emotionally invested because if there's even a small part of the accusation that feels true, you think you can fix it. It's especially if it's within yourself. You think the relationship will get better if you can just work on that thing, and it's not true. But he knows that as long as you're trying to correct yourself, you're not focused on the real problem, which is him, okay? Shreds of truth are not honesty. It's not vulnerability, damn well not accountability. It's all leverage. It's pure leverage. And once you see it for what it is, everything changes. You start noticing how every fight was a hook, a tiny detail pulled from something that you told him in confidence. It's such a piss off, a moment from your past, something you struggled with, something you feared. You shared this because you loved him. You shared this because you're being vulnerable. You thought you were safe, but you weren't. This is something maybe you healed from, but he refuses to let go of it. You start seeing how he talks about you like he owns your story, right? He gets to decide what's true about you, what isn't, already positioning himself up here, right? He's just going to pretend that your growth never happened. Self-improvement, if you've done any, doesn't matter. And you know what? This is often the moment that a lot of women just start to wake up, because once you realize the truth in the argument is just bait, you can stop taking it. You can stop apologizing for things that aren't actually problems. You stop defending yourself. You're not on trial. He wants you to feel that way. Defensiveness tells him something. He can create this defensiveness, this level of emotion, so he can control you because he can control your emotions. And remember, he doesn't need the whole story to be believable. He just needs enough of it to feel true or familiar. And once you see that, you see the game. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, hey, this is exactly what I've been through, you're not wrong. You're not misremembering. You were being psychologically manipulated by someone who used your truth to confuse you. And if you want help breaking these mental patterns that just keep you stuck in trauma bonds and abusive relationships, especially the ones really built on confusion and self-blame, you can work with me privately in my one-on-one sessions. My coaching links are going to be in the description. Tell me in the comments, though, what shreds of truth that he used on you. I want to hear about it. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next video.